We are. Oh, go live. Boom. Hey, we're live here. See what's going on here. Let me see if I can get my other thing up here. Click on that. Why am we not live? Oh, well, we're not going to worry about that one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tri Tips Live 70.3 edition. We're talking about getting ourselves ready to go on and to Ironman Florida 70.3. Tonight's topic is going to be caffeine in racing and training. That's what we're talking about tonight. But before we get that going, as I've always said, that one of the things that I'm here to do is to talk to you, to be keeping myself honest and talk to you about my training for 70.3 Ironman Florida. Well, it's been kind of on a semi hold. I've had an injury issue. Now I've had to address that several times, and I've got to go out and spend a lot of money. To be honest with you, spend a lot of money to get my feet fixed up and to get working, to get them working so we're not in pain all the time. And to be honest with you, I actually do. I finally got set up where, oh, it looks like we're live. See if I can hear myself. We're good. All right, so we are live on Facebook. Hey, so this is the injury update. Is I've spent a lot of money to get my feet fixed, to be able to try to get to this race in 12 weeks. I did actually do some pool running that worked good. This morning I did my first live run in a month. It went well. I had no problems with my feet, but my legs were like, what are you doing? We thought we were over this stuff. But yeah, I have plenty of endurance from the bike training I've been doing and the swim training, but I got to get my run endurance up and hopefully can keep my feet put together and get ready to do Ironman Florida 70.3 in December, 12 weeks away. Workout update, got a bunch of workouts in this week, couple of swims, couple of bikes, got in, like I said, a good run this morning, a couple of pool runs. So we're getting going there. I want to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor for all of our 70.3 live editions is Longevity Wellness here in town. And they're setting up a live store. I shouldn't say live, but they're setting up a store where you can buy all of the supplements that they offer. And that'll be coming up probably the end of November-ish before they get that going, but we're going to keep on going and we're going to keep on plugging them. Like I say there, guys, if you throw me a howdy doody in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. That way I can know who's here. Now, if you really like what we got going on here, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you drop down and check out the link in the description for Patreon. Become a patron. Help me to get this very expensive little project going. All these microphones and cameras and lights and all that stuff costs some money. So what I want to tell you first off is I am not a doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I am a coach who is trained by USAT and experienced athlete of over 100 triathlons, and I use caffeine in my training and in my racing, and I'm going to bring to you, as entertainment purposes only, my take on what caffeine is and how to use caffeine in training and racing. So here we go. Caffeine is a stimulant. Stimulants are banned. Why isn't caffeine banned? That's the question we got today. And I'm going to bring you some really great information. So, what is caffeine? Caffeine, first off, we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to give you the Wikipedia description of what caffeine is. And caffeine is a central nervous system stimulant of the methylxanthine class. There are several known mechanisms of action that explain the effects of caffeine. The most prominent is that it reversibly blocks the action of the I love these medical words, andesine on its receptors and consequently prevents the onset of drowsiness induced by androstenedione. So there you go. That's what Wikipedia says about caffeine. This is the world's most consumed psychoactive drug. Uh, it's largely unregulated around the world, and it's legal just about anywhere, even though it is a very potent stimulant. The World Health Organization, who we all have learned about in the last couple of years, uh, classifies this as an essential medicine. Why isn't why isn't caffeine banned? Does WADA not ban caffeine when they do ban lesser stimulants? And I'll tell you why. The reason is over 60 different plant species on the face of the earth have caffeine naturally in them. It can also be artificially extracted, artificially made, and put in other food products to help us get a little lift out of those food products, including sodas, foods, gels, all these different products that these go into. That you're not going to know if caffeine is in any particular product. It can be listed on the label, but there is caffeine in a lot of places that you wouldn't expect it to be. So it's totally, completely impossible for WADA to regulate the use of caffeine in their athletes. So instead of trying to regulate the most abundant stimulant in the world, they're just letting it in as a stimulant for racing and training. Um, Caffeine is totally and completely unavoidable in your life. There's no way that you can not find something with caffeine in it. 90% of the US population uses caffeine. So, with that said, let's take a look at the pros and cons of caffeine in racing. First off, we're going to take a look and go to the whiteboard. We're going to go to whiteboard kind of early today. And what I'm seeing here on the whiteboard is we're going to list off the pros, cons, and then we're going to go into the numbers in our study of caffeine. Now, as far as the pros go, first off, the number one pro I have listed here is it decreases. This is where our little decreases and increases thing here. It decreases drowsiness and the feeling of fatigue. So as you're going through your runs, as you're going through your training, as you're going through your race, the level of fatigue that you're going to feel is not going to be as strong with the use of caffeine. Uh, it also increases cognitive alertness. Okay, so caffeine works on your central nervous system. It keeps your brain from connecting the let's see if I can say this right. Keeps your brain from connecting the drowsiness to your perception of drowsiness, and you're able to push through. Uh, you're able to push through that, and it's able to bring the cognitive alertness, as we were talking about. It keeps mental sharpness under stress. So what that means is when you're under the stress of racing, physical, mental stress, it is going to keep you more focused. Your brain will stay focused on the race course, on things like your bike handling, on things like making sure you're keeping your pacing on the run, that type of thing. You're not going to wander off as fatigue sets in. Um, it's USDA safe. This is the most studied psychoactive substance on the face of the earth. USDA recognizes it as a generally safe stimulant. That's their what they're recognized with categorizing it. They're categorizing it as a genuinely safe stimulant. Who the World Health Organization lists it as an essential drug. So there's major health organizations who are saying that this stuff is safe. Um, it enhances athletic and performance. So used correctly, caffeine is going to increase your athletic performance in in anaerobic and endurance sports. Um, if timed right, Small amounts of caffeine, say Cokes or gels, late in a race, uh, will give you the same effect as a large dose before the race. So, um, used correctly in the right proportions, it's going to increase your athletic performance. Don't forget that we will later on in the in we're gonna, any questions you all have, you can go ahead and post it in the comments, and we'll get to them, or I can get to them right as we go along here. Um, so fat burn. Studies have proven that caffeine can stimulate fat burn, and that helps in a long race. As your glycogen levels start to drop off, you're going to start to burn more fat for fuel, and this will stimulate your body to burn more fat as fuel. Sounds great. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have me a double mocha latte with double whipped cream, because I'm going to get a huge shot of caffeine, and I can take in all that fat, because it's just going to burn it. No, it doesn't add that much fat burning ability. It just stimulates slightly the ability of your body to burn fat. Ooh, we don't want to knock anything over. All right. So the next thing, it lessens perceived pain. Now, this is a good thing and a bad thing, but it lessens perceived pain. And if you listen to your body and use it with caution, the pain levels will drop. In the late in those races, when your legs are really killing you, when you're trying to push through, the ability of your brain to process the fact that your legs are hurting decreases, and you're able to push through a little bit better. It also increases endurance. So, what I'm meaning by the fact that it increases endurance is that it increases the time that your body has before exhaustion. So you're actually, when it increases your cognitive ability, it increases your time before, decreases your amount of pain, and increases the length of time before you go to exhaustion. What it does there is it helps with your technical skills. If you're not, if your brain's working, your cognitive abilities are there, your brain is working, your body is working, it's going to keep your technical skills in line, and it'll help you on things like paying attention to what's going on late in a bike ride or late in a run. Now, the next one is kind of a different one here. We're going to take a look at it. Gives you the false feeling of wellness. If you look, I got a little black line here. It connects to false feeling of wellness in the cons also. This one's kind of an interesting place to be, um, because it gives you that feeling of wellness. If you're not feeling well in the morning, say, and you just don't know if you should get going and get out there and race. If you take your caffeine in the morning, this could give you this false feeling of wellness. And if you're not that off, you could be on your way out to a great race. But if you are actually sick, and you should be, uh, DNS, do not start a particular race, then this is what's can be bad, because it gives you that false feeling of being well, and you go out and you start the race anyway, and it gets you sicker. So basically, that's a double-edged sword. It can be helpful and it can be harmful, but here's the key: listen to your body. Know your body, know what you've done in the past, know your training, and let that be a guide to you to know whether you should race or whether you shouldn't, and your wellness, not the false sense of security and false sense of feeling well that caffeine can bring you. Here's the thing: it's cheap. Uh, Caffeine is cheap and effective form of increasing all of the above. You don't have to pay out a lot of money for anything with caffeine. You can pay $3 for a little shot. You could pay a buck for a coffee at the 7-Eleven. You can, I mean, there's just an inexpensive form of adding to all of the above. And here's the other thing too, as us being endurance athletes, it's the better trained you are, the better caffeine is going to work for you. So the person who is out of shape and just trying to get going for work, caffeine is going to take a lot longer or a lot larger dose of caffeine to get that person going than it will be an endurance athlete. And that athlete who is out there running a 7.5 hour to 9.5 hour Ironman, or uh, out there winning their age group, they are going to be affected in a more positive way than an athlete who is not in the greatest of shape, or a person who's not an athlete at all. So now let's move on. If you're getting value from this, make sure you hit subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs ups really help, though. Throw me a thumbs up. Give me a shout out, like I say in the comments, and don't forget you can become a patron by stopping by patreon.com/Coach John and joining up and becoming a part of the financial help in keeping this channel going. So here's our cons. There are some serious cons when it comes to using any stimulant, but specifically in this case, we're going to talk about caffeine cons. All right, so this happens to some people is you have a sudden spike in blood pressure. Even without hypertension, even a person who has lower blood pressure, there can be a spike in blood pressure while you're using caffeine, but it doesn't affect all people. It just there's no known reason why. Some people it will spike their blood pressure, some people it won't. When it comes to caffeine, we should be checking with our doctor before we go into a caffeine regimen. The next thing is it's addictive. Caffeine is an addictive stimulant. You will need more and more and more of it to get the same results that you're getting. So we want to avoid the fact that we don't want to be using caffeine in massive doses every single day. It will become addictive. And if you drop off, you'll get withdrawal. Now, what about the fact of tapering into a race and then cutting off caffeine for a person who uses it to get that boost when you start using caffeine the day of the race? Well, it's proven that boost that you feel, that added additional boost that you feel when you've fasted from or when you've withdrawn from caffeine for 48 hours to 4 or 5 days, is not a boost of energy. It is the reduction of the withdrawal symptoms. So science has proven and studies have proven that the use of caffeine, whether you're fasted from it or whether you're not fasted from it, the boost you're going to get is going to be exactly the same regardless. You're going to have the problem in withdrawal of headache, of lethargic feelings, and of irritability. Couple that with tapers, irritability, and feeling lethargic, you're creating a time bomb for the people around you. So taking that sabbatical from caffeine does not add to the ability of caffeine to hit you good and give you that boost on race day. The next con of caffeine use is that at 10 grams, it becomes toxic. At 100 milligrams, I'd say at 10 grams, it becomes toxic. I don't know the grams math. If somebody in the chat knows, throw it out there. Hey, Brett, how's it going, buddy? Brett says, hey. Yeah, at 10 grams, it becomes toxic. Here's the thing about caffeine. Caffeine is actually could be fatal. If you take and think that I'm going to order, and there's places where you can order, and I'm not going to say where, but there's places, and I don't know if you still can or not, but at one time you could order pure caffeine and people were dying because it is such a strong stimulant in a condition that it's not thinned out through whatever medium it's put into, whether it's a gel or Coca-Cola or coffee. That powdered caffeine can kill you. Now, it increases urine output. All right. So some people will say, and I've seen people talk about dehydration, and I got to get my drink. I think I'm going to make that a thing that anytime I say dehydration or hydration, I got to take a drink. So if you can cause me to do that, you can make me have to run to the bathroom. Okay. So it's a diuretic. It will increase urine output. It is proven that it'll increase urine output. But if you're a regular caffeine user, your body will adapt and not have that reaction to create more urine. Your body adapts to it. But if you aren't a regular user, it will cause you to urinate more often. It won't cause dehydration if your hydration plan, if your nutrition and hydration plan, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, takes into account that you're going to be peeing more often with the caffeine, and you're going to take in the hydration that you need to take in, you won't dehydrate due to the diuretic effects of the caffeine. But I do have to say one thing. If you're using caffeine to stimulate your performance and get faster, if you got to run into the portalet in the middle of the bike, and you're just going to lose everything that you gained from that. So here's the gross truth, people. Learn to pee on the bike. So if you're out there racing and you're using everything you can to get as fast as you can, and you're going through all of this process to make sure your nutrition and hydration and everything is right, and you have to stop every aid station to pee, you're going to lose it all. You're going to actually fall backwards. You're not going to go forwards on that. So learn to pee on the bike. Again, we're back to the double-edged sword, the false feeling of wellness. It could make you feel well when you're not well at all. So again, when it comes to the false feeling of wellness, know the balance, know the difference between being too sick before you take the caffeine, and know when you are going to be having to DNS a race due to the fact that you're sick. Don't use the caffeine to get you to the race and then get yourself more sick. Now, I also talked earlier about you should see your doctor. You should talk to a doctor about the use of caffeine in your training and racing, because if you have several different types of illnesses, as best I could put it, you don't want to be using caffeine at all. We talked earlier about blood pressure spikes. So if you have high blood pressure, hypertension, that type of disease that causes you to have any type of blood pressure fluctuations, see your doctor. Do not start using the caffeine. Gastro, here we go. Another one of those wonderful medical terms. Gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD. Anything that you have going on in your esophagus as far as reflux, acid reflux, you shouldn't be using caffeine. This could cause damage there. If you're pregnant, don't use caffeine when you're pregnant. This is just not a good thing. And if you have anxiety disorders of any kind, any type of anxiety disorder whatsoever, don't use caffeine. This could magnify it to a point where you have some sort of an issue with anxiety, with depression, with any type of mental illness whatsoever. If you have something like that going on, don't use the caffeine. The other thing, if you have any type of sleep disorder whatsoever, you should not be using any type of stimulant, especially not caffeine, especially not after, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Nobody should be using caffeine after around 3, because you could have a problem getting to sleep, and that can cause other issues down the road. So that brings us to race day, folks. We're going to go over the numbers that in race day that are suggested by studies. I've done extensive research. Like I said earlier, I am not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I am a coach. I do suggest you go see a doctor before you use any of the information here. And anything that I'm bringing to you is for entertainment use only. That you should take this what I'm telling you here and adjust it to your situation, through your coach, your doctor, whoever you need to work with. And I say, be responsible. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this rough outline of the plan that I use with my athletes and with myself when it comes to using caffeine. Now, this is going to be just using caffeine. We're not talking about taking in any glycogen, building glycogen stores. We're not talking about calories. We're not talking about anything other than when you would use a product that that has caffeine in it. And speaking of products that use caffeine, let me see if we're up. How many? Okay, so what we're going to use is we're going to show you your baselines. We're going to use on the caffeine the suggested use, and I've done the research, in just about every single one of the athletic performance nutritionists out there say that you should be using between 3 and 6 milligrams per kilogram, or per 2.2 pounds of body weight. So we're going to use me as a case study for this. And I am a 185-pound senior athlete who uses caffeine each day. I drink an iced tea in the morning as I'm eating my breakfast and on my way to work. Occasionally, I will use a small half an energy drink if I'm really feeling down, but I never use caffeine after that point, unless it comes in the form of something that just happens to have caffeine in it. I'm a little bit of a chocolate guy. I'll take a little piece of dark chocolate once or twice a week, that type of thing. That has a little caffeine in it. But other than that, I'm not a heavy caffeine user. I'm not somebody who's going to drink energy drinks. I don't drink sodas at all. So there we go. So I'm 185 or 84 kilograms, and I am a caffeine user, but not a heavy caffeine user. Now, over the years of training and racing and using caffeine in training and racing, I have learned what my body uses and how I can use it, when I can use it to the best results. But what I want to talk to you now first about is some products that we have out there. First, I'm going to talk to you about your K-cups, your coffee. Coffee, it's hard to figure out how much caffeine is in it. Most coffees don't tell you. This one has no mention of it whatsoever. It's just, they'll either say caffeinated or decaf. That's not a measurable amount different. A small cup of coffee versus a big cup of coffee, an espresso versus a latte versus a cup of black coffee versus a cup of coffee with milk in it, cream coffee. Everything is going to make that number bounce up and down all around. Another one is these little energy shots. These little energy shots will tell you, like this one. This one says that proprietary energy blend is 2.125 grams of energy blend, but most of it's coming from taurine, not caffeine. It's got taurine, caffeine, glucon, a big old scientific word, and a couple other scientific words there. But it doesn't tell me how much of that blend is caffeine. So I did a little research, and I went out and found out what the caffeine level actually is, and we're going to show you that in the in the example. But I want to go over a couple other things now. Gels, you got to watch your gels. I've got a couple of different sets of gels right here from Goo. Um, this one and this one pretty much look like they could be just about sister and brother as far as that goes. But one of them has 0 caffeine. One of them has 20 milligrams of caffeine. Pay attention to the labels on your gels. This one here has 35 milligrams of caffeine. So pay attention to the labels on your gels to know how much caffeine is in the product. When we're out Ironman racing, Ironman has several different products actually on the course. One of them is the Gatorade Endurance. This particular product right here has no caffeine in it whatsoever, so you're good on that one. And then the other product that you can pick up on the course of an Ironman is Murton gels. Murton has 2 different gels. I thought I had them both, but I didn't find one of them. But they have 2 different, very, very distinct packaging. You have your black packaging right here, which has no caffeine in it. And you have your white packaging. I don't know if you can see that right there. Yeah, your white packaging has 100 milligrams of caffeine. 100 milligrams of caffeine. And you'll see where that could be a problem in just a minute. So these items are able to be picked up on the course, this and along with the Gatorade, but these can be picked up on the course, and you can use those as you go. Now, another product, one that I have recently talked to the people and gotten some product and is back in the world, is the Bonk Breaker bars, Bonk Breaker bars and chews. And I have got several different of the Bonk Breaker chews. And what you have to watch for here is the labeling that looks approximately the same. You know, the graphics are about the same, and the different flavors get you the different colors. But right here, folks, this tells you that 4 of these little chews inside is 100 milligrams of caffeine. What's nice about this, though, is you know that each one of those chews is 25 milligrams of caffeine. You can adjust yourself the amount of caffeine up and down by a level of 1 with these chews. Very handy for keeping your caffeine in line. But now when you get late in the race, you end up running into a situation where all of those gels and all of those sweet things that you're taking in could end up causing a problem later on. You won't want it, and you're going to need a gel with caffeine in it, and you don't want another chew, and you're just about over anything. Salt Stick, we thank Salt Stick for back in the channel a little bit. But Salt Stick right here, they've come out with this new electrolyte caps right there, and they have caffeine in them. And each one of these tablets has 35 milligrams of caffeine, along with all the electrolytes that you need to keep yourself going. You can go to water using these electrolyte tabs, get rid of all of that crazy jelly nastiness that you can have going on late in a race. So those electrolyte tabs, those are available. I'll have a link down below in the description after the live stream is over, or you can go to saltstick.com, use a discount code for 20% off Coach John, or you can go to bonkbreakers.com, same discount code for the same percentage off. So that's some of the items that you can use to get your caffeine during the race. And they also always have cola late in the race. So we'll go to our case study now, and how we're going to use these products that we just talked about in the racing is what I'm going to show you how I use it in my caffeine intake in an Ironman race. And I'm going to kind of break it down a little bit into the 70.3 distance. First off, in the morning when you get up, you're going to have your cup of coffee, you're going to have your iced tea, you're going to have your energy drink, or the little energy shot right here, the most famous name brand of them, has 156 milligrams of caffeine in it. So we're going to start off with our energy shot an hour or so before the race, or our cup of coffee. If you want to make sure your cup of coffee, you do your research, find out how much caffeine is in that cup of coffee. And mine, like I say, the energy shot that I use, or my iced tea, comes in around 156 milligrams. Now, about, I'd say 30 minutes before the swim, 15 to 30 minutes before the swim, I'm going to take those bunk breaker chews. I did this at Ironman Blue Ridge, and I'm going to take and eat about 4 of those bunk breaker chews. Couple of things that does for you. Number one, it's going to bring your glycogen scores, your carbohydrates up, your glycogen up, your calories up, and it's going to put something in your stomach that's light and easy to digest. Because by this time, you've probably been a couple of hours since breakfast, and you're going to feel a little bit hungry. You don't want to go into the swim fasted. You want to go into the swim putting some sort of energy into your body. So I'm going to take 4 of these, giving me 100 milligrams of caffeine. Now that's 256 milligrams of caffeine. That's that's already at the bottom number of 250 to 500 milligrams that I should be using in the race. Like I said, though, I've studied this, I've done a lot of racing in this. I know how much caffeine my body uses and when to take it in. And I know I'm a little bit higher because some athletes can take in around 8 milligrams and be all right. I'm of 6 to 6.5 milligrams per 2.2 pounds. So this is just, like I say, this is my case study, and you guys have to make this adjustment yourselves to know exactly how much caffeine you're going to take in. So I'm going to take that just before the swim, about 15 to 20 minutes before the swim. I'm going to take and eat 4 of those bonk breaker chews. I find that if I concentrate on something other than the race, like at the beginning, it kind of calms me a little bit. I've seen a lot of people say, I can't eat anything before the swim. Well, you pretty much need to, because you need to have the energy stores. Now, as I come out of the swim, I'm going to go into T1, and I'm going to eat 2 more of the bonk breaker chews. It's going to give me 50 more milligrams of caffeine. I have now just finished in an Ironman race. I've now just finished an hour and 15 minutes or so since I started the swim, and then another half hour or so before. Now I'm at about an hour and 45 minutes. This caffeine is decreasing in my body. I will be running out of the caffeinated energy at that point. But in a half Ironman, in a 70.3, I am going to skip the chews. I'm going to skip the caffeine in T1. I am going to take a gel. I'm going to take some bonk breaker chews that are not caffeinated to get the energy sources up, but I'm not going to be far enough off of this 256 milligrams of caffeine. I'm not going to be far enough off to go ahead and add more caffeine into my system. So in a 70.3, I'm not going to take the caffeine in T1, but I am going to take the gel. In a full Ironman, I'm going to take the caffeine right then. Now, we're off on the bike. I take the caffeine. I'm going to take about 40 milligrams of caffeine, 40 to 50 milligrams of caffeine every hour and 45 minutes on the bike for the first part of the ride. It's going to be an hour and 45 minutes and 3 hours and 30 minutes. But remember, I'm talking about when I'm taking in the caffeine, not when I'm taking in the individual gels. I am going to be taking non-caffeinated gels. I am going to eat on a 70.3 at a mile 30 or so, 35. I'm going to eat a bonk breaker bar. I love those things. They're great. And on an Ironman, I'm going to, at mile 30, 60, and 90, I'm going to eat a solid food, along with adding the gels in every 35 minutes or so. That's my number. I shoot for 35 minutes. It works for me. Some people is less, some people is more, but every 35 minutes works for me, taking in some chews or some gel to supplement the caffeinated ones. So now we're getting to the end. At 5 hours on the bike, I generally will take in around 100 milligrams of caffeine. This is something that I have not used the bonk breaker chews at that point. I would kind of weigh out how I'm feeling at that point, whether I'm going to take 3 chews or 4 chews. I will not take more than 4. But I'm just going to go with the high number. So we're going to take 4 chews at around 5 hours for 100 milligrams. And that's when I'm going to be switching in that range. I'm going to be switching to a water for my to separate my hydration, nutrition, and electrolytes. Again, we did that. We covered that in our hydration and nutrition and hydration talk a few weeks ago. You can find those on my YouTube channel. You find the replay of that if you want to see how to structure a nutrition plan. Now we're out on the run. We're heading out on the run, and we're going to run. I always run about 2 miles fasted coming off the bike, regardless if it's a 70.3 or an Ironman. I personally will take and drink some straight water, but I've found that if I'm going to have GI issues, my GI issues are going to be somewhere in that first between transition and the first aid station. I figured out that if I just switch to water for the last bottle on the bike of a full Ironman or last half bottle in a 70.3, kind of get everything best I could say washed up inside. It works for me. It won't work for some people, but it also kicks your body into a state where it starts looking to burn fat for fuel. So now we're on to the run. I'm going to take a caffeinated gel somewhere in mile 6, mile 12, and mile 18. Actually, I'm going to take a caffeinated gel, 35 milligram caffeinated gel at mile 6, 12, 18. And then that'll be the end of my caffeine for the race at mile 18. But what we're doing is we're timing out our caffeine use. We're taking less and less caffeine in. We're not going to need as much late in the race as you're using up energy. Caffeine affects you better. So you can actually, at this point right here, you can switch to Coke, which has, depending on how much Coke that you take in, it'll have between 6 and 18 grams of caffeine. Again, you can't really measure it because they're just pouring it in a cup, and you're taking a cup. It could have this much in it. It could be full. So you're getting a different amount of caffeine each time. And the sugar also gives you a little boost when you're taking in the colas late in the race. So in the end, my plan that I use is going to give me about 576 milligrams of caffeine through the race, heavier at the beginning, lighter at the end, and we hope to have a great race. So there we go. That is the caffeine plan that you need to take a look at. Like I say, I'm not a doctor. See your doctor. This is an outline. If you got any questions, throw the questions in the chat right now, and we will. I'll take a look at them, and we'll answer any questions you might have. Don't forget that JS Coaching Systems, it offers 10 for $10 sprint triathlon training plans. If you want to give one for a Christmas gift or a birthday gift, we can do something as far as getting a certificate, so you can do that. If not, folks, if I don't see anything here going on in the chat, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Make sure you check out my videos right here. That's a little plug for the replay. And this is Coach John. Boom. Have a great week. See you next week. I'm out.